Eddie stood in the cramped rehearsal room with the script loose in his hands, the pages already soft from being flipped to many times, his voice unsteady as he admitted he hadn't memorized the scene yet, even though opening night was only a week away, and May sat nearby pretending not to care. Her body relaxed, but her eyes sharp, because she knew this wasn't really about memorization at all. It was about needing someone else in the room to make the words feel real. And when Eddie complained that rehearsing alone felt impossible, she finally sighed and agreed to help, teasing him that berating him for long stretches was basically her natural talent anyway. And as soon as they began the rehearsal, the space around them started to change. The rehearsal room slowly dissolving into something darker, cheaper, lonelier, the walls fading into the sickly green of a rundown motel on the edge of a desert. The air feeling heavier, quieter, as if the world itself were holding its breath. And Eddie's voice shifted as he stepped into the role, insisting he was right there, that he wasn't going anywhere, repeating it like a promise he needed to hear himself. While May lay still, refusing to look at him, her silence louder than any line, forcing him to fill the space with nervous concern, offering water, food, anything to make her react. Anything to prove he still mattered. And when she finally spoke, her words cut through him, accusing him of sitting too long in his own absence, showing up only when it was already too late. And Eddie moved closer, his instincts torn between tenderness and control, telling her to sit up, to let him take care of her, to let him put her to bed. And make tea like care could erase damage, but May laughed at him, not kindly, pointing out the smell on his hands, the miles on his body, the metal, the road, the things he'd touched before coming back to her. And when he denied it, she pushed harder, because denial had always been his favorite defense. And suddenly, the scene sharpened, anger bleeding into obsession. Eddie's words growing dangerous as jealousy surfaced, his thoughts racing ahead of his mouth. Threatening violence he half believed and half feared, describing harm with disturbing calm, insisting it would be precise, separate, controlled, as if control had ever existed between them. And May didn't recoil the way he expected. Instead, she challenged him, called him guilty and gutless, told him the truth he couldn't escape, that he hadn't come to save her, he had come to soothe himself. And that accusation cracked something open, because suddenly Eddie was no longer threatening but pleading, shouting about the distance he'd driven, the miles that proved devotion in his mind, explaining how the road had been filled with thoughts of her, how pieces of her haunted him, especially her neck, how that image had broken him open behind the wheel, crying uncontrollably as strangers passed by, unaware of the war inside his chest. And May listened, torn between disbelief and the ache of being missed that deeply, asking him why that part of her lingered. And when he said it was because it felt like the most vulnerable place she owned, the room fell quiet, heavy with recognition. And the rehearsal slipped even further into confession, May's voice shifting into a monologue that felt less like acting and more like survival. Speaking about memory as if it were a living thing, about how people shape the colors of who we become until we forget who we were before them, about imagining a child not yet real, warm only in thought, belonging to both of them, and yet not truly belonging at all, about fear not of consequences, but of transformation, of becoming someone unrecognizable, of allowing something to happen simply, because it felt inevitable. And Eddie stood frozen, the script forgotten, watching her unravel ideas about love, possession, creation, and loss, about wanting memories desperately and yet fearing the weight of carrying them forever, questioning whether desire for a person meant desiring their presence, their voice, their ideas, their future, or merely the way they once made you feel safe. And as she spoke, the room seemed to pulse with everything unsaid between them, the love that suffocated as much as it sustained, the violence that lived not only in threats, but in expectations. And when she finally reached the end of her speech, admitting that sometimes she wasn't sure she felt anything at all, that maybe she only believed she did because believing was easier than emptiness, the silence that followed felt more powerful than applause. Eddie finally lowering the camera he had insisted on recording with, realizing too late that some moments weren't meant to be replayed, only endured. And when he whispered that the scene was finished, May shook her head slowly, telling him scenes like this never truly ended. They simply exhausted the people inside them, leaving the question hanging between them like desert heat, whether memories were meant to preserve us, or whether they quietly destroyed us over time.